Imagine a 4-year-old stepping onto a tennis court in Manila, gripping a racket that looks too big for her hands, and dreaming about becoming the next Alexandra Eala. That scene might have sounded unusual a few years ago. Today, in the Philippines, it is becoming a symbol of something much bigger, a tennis boom. Eala has not simply won matches. She has changed what young Filipino athletes believe is possible. And perhaps the most fascinating part of her story is not what happened on the biggest courts in the world, but what is happening back home because of her success. On a Manila court made from crushed seashells, young players are chasing forehands, practicing serves, and imagining themselves under the lights of a grand slam. For many of them, Eala is no longer just a distant professional athlete. She is proof that someone from their country can actually reach the highest levels of tennis. 9-year-old Mayumi Stevens saw a photograph of Eala diving for a ball on Wimbledon's center court. For her, that single image was enough to create a powerful connection. She looked at Eala and thought, that could be me. Her dream is simple: become Eala when she grows up. And the numbers suggest that belief is spreading. According to the Philippine Tennis Association, demand for tennis courts has become so intense that finding an available court can be extremely difficult. Racket sales are climbing too. Decathlon, one of the major sporting retailers operating in the country, has reported a sharp increase in sales of beginner rackets over the past year. This is not simply a social media trend around one famous player. Families are spending money, children are training, communities are asking for courts, and businesses are changing their strategies because people are actually getting involved. Eala has started to fill that space. Her rise has been remarkable. A former U.S. Open girls champion, she made her Grand Slam breakthrough at the 2025 French Open and then continued climbing. Reaching the 4th round at Wimbledon was another major step, but her biggest statement came shortly afterward in Washington, where she captured her first WTA singles title. That title was not an ordinary breakthrough. Eala defeated major names, including Naomi Osaka and Jessica Pegula, and showed that her game could stand up against players who had already established themselves at the top of women's tennis. Suddenly, the conversation changed. Filipinos were not simply asking how far Eala could go. They were asking who might follow her. That question matters because the Philippines has a huge population but a surprisingly limited tennis infrastructure. The Philippine Tennis Association estimates there are fewer than 1,000 tennis courts across the archipelago. Public facilities are scarce, and access can be especially difficult for families without significant financial resources. There is also a practical problem. Tennis equipment is not cheap for everyone. A quality racket can represent a major expense in a country where many families have to carefully manage household budgets. That makes Eala's success even more meaningful. Her journey shows that talent can emerge from the Philippines, but it also exposes how much work is needed to create a pathway for the next generation. Eala herself had to leave home when she was just 13. A scholarship took her to the Rafael Nadal Academy in Spain, where she could train in an environment designed for elite development. That opportunity helped transform potential into professional-level preparation. But not every talented Filipino child can follow the same route. For coaches working with young players, the challenge is therefore bigger than finding the next star. It is about building a system where promising athletes can stay in the sport long enough for their ability to develop. That is why the construction of new courts could become one of the most important consequences of Eala's rise. Local governments are reportedly moving toward building hardcourts inside multipurpose sports facilities. The Philippine Tennis Association is also preparing a government-backed national tennis center north of Manila, with plans for an academy and a stadium capable of holding thousands of spectators. Think about what that could mean. A child who currently has to wait endlessly for a court could eventually have a place to train regularly. A talented teenager might have access to stronger coaching without leaving the country immediately. Coaches could have better facilities for developing national teams. And tournaments could bring more young players into the competitive side of the sport. There is another fascinating part of this story: the Filipino diaspora. Millions of Filipinos live and work overseas, often maintaining an intense connection with home. Eala has become a source of pride for many of them, and some have traveled or paid significant amounts for tickets to watch her compete. The atmosphere has also surprised traditional tennis observers. At one major event, Filipino supporters were reportedly cheering with the energy normally associated with a basketball arena. A young fan watching Eala compete does not necessarily see a distant world of private clubs and formal traditions. They see someone carrying the Philippine flag into an international arena. They see a player who looks like a representative of their own dreams. But Eala's popularity also creates a challenge. Expectations can become enormous when one athlete suddenly becomes the face of an entire sport. The Philippines currently has very few players near the top of the professional rankings. Eala is the country's standout women's player, while the men's side has struggled to produce athletes ranked anywhere close to the global elite. The Philippine Tennis Association's Tonet Mendoza made that point clearly. The next star is not yet obvious, but she believes someone is out there. That may be the most exciting possibility of all, because the next Eala might not be visible today. She could be one of those children waiting for a court. She could be a 4-year-old hitting forehands on a shell surface in Manila. She could be a 9-year-old watching a Wimbledon photograph and suddenly thinking, I want to do that too. And that is how sporting revolutions begin. Not with a ranking number, not with a trophy. They begin when a child sees someone from home achieve something that once seemed impossible. Alexandra Eala has already made history for herself. Now, almost without meaning to, she is helping rewrite the future of Philippine tennis. Can the country turn this sudden excitement into permanent investment? Can more courts be built? Can talented children receive affordable coaching? Can families see tennis as a realistic pathway rather than an expensive hobby? If the answer is yes, Eala's greatest legacy may not be the titles she wins. It may be the players who come after her. So what do you think? Could Alexandra Eala's breakthrough produce the Philippines' next generation of tennis stars? Or will the country struggle to turn this excitement into a lasting tennis system? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and stay with Tennis Desk for more stories from the world of tennis.